watching sports now because they all focus on numbers. They have no idea how crazy baseball clubhouses are.
No, it is the home of the most superstitious people in all of sports.
Yep.
And they wear and consume
And
crazy
eat, yes,
things.
they'll do anything.
Yes. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Purdue is good, golfers are nuts, and Kendrick Perkins joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with Jimmy Garoppolo. Last year, the 49ers tried to get rid of him in favor of Trey Lance. But Lance broke his ankle in Game 2, and Garoppolo started the next 10 games until he got a Lisfranc injury that put him out. The 49ers were 7-3 in the games Garoppolo started. Yesterday, Kyle Shanahan said that he does not, quote, see any scenario, unquote, of Garoppolo returning to the 49ers next season. Wilbon, do you see Garoppolo starting in the NFL?
Yeah, why not? There's only about 15 to 18, maybe. You and I go through this all the time, late on a Sunday when somebody's thrown 3 picks. And we go, wait a minute. How many real number one quarterbacks are out there in 32 teams? And we never get past 18 or 19, right, Tony? Never. I mean, it's just not. That means, by definition, there are 13 or 14 gigs out there where somebody can start. You got vacancies, you got injuries, you got subpar performance, you got bad projections and scouting reports. So yes, I'm not going to go through a crazy list. You can go from Oakland to the New York Jets, all the way across the country, 3,000 miles, and every highway exit you can stop, and somebody needs a quarterback. And yes, he's been to a Super Bowl. His record is way over 600 in terms of winning percentage. He's not a great quarterback, but he can and will start in this league again soon.
Not just can and will, should.
Yes, and should. Good point.
Because I'm not going to do analytics here. I'm going to go through simple numbers that anyone can understand, simple numbers. His record as a starter is 40-17.
Come on now.
You're telling me that disqualifies him from starting? He went to a Super Bowl, as you said. Okay, he lost the Super Bowl. And the week before, 2 weeks before, in the NFC Championship game, Shanahan didn't want him to pass at all. Only let him throw 8 passes. He completed 6 of those passes. His career passing completion percentage is 67.6. And so that disqualifies him from starting in the NFL. His career passer rating is 99.6, Mike. That's career. Last year, that would have put him 7th in the entire NFL, and that's career. In fact, he is 6th highest all time. Let me repeat that. All time. So, of course, he can start. So let's go. Yeah, let's go through a list for a second. Can't start for Carolina. Can't start for New Orleans. Can't start for Indianapolis. The Jets, Houston, even New England, for Vegas, for Tennessee, for Washington. Really? As Rory McIlroy would say, I have no idea what world you're living in.
Yeah. And you know what else you forgot? He's handsome. Really handsome. He just is.
Yeah. It's a good thing he's handsome, as his nana says. Last night, after Purdue drummed Penn State by 20, a game you actually called right, Wilbon.
Easy. That was easy.
The Penn State coach, Micah Shrewsbury, stepped to the microphone in the post-game press conference and he said, and I quote, "This opening statement is going to be very short, very succinct, and very to the point. Best team in the country, best player in the country, best coach in the country," unquote. Wilbon, you are Mr. Big Ten. Are you with him?
Yep. And I don't even care about the specifics. Matt Painter has done a good job already, and now he appears to be doing a great job. And whether he's the best coach in the country or not is unimportant. Let me just say this, Tony. There's a young man out there people need to pay attention to. It harkens back basketball at a different time and place, okay? Zach Edey is 7'4", all right? He stands up straight and tall and huge with big shoulders. This is not a 7'4" stretch 4 or wing or shooting threes.
Right.
You throw him the ball, he posts you up, he puts his arm out at 7'4", and God knows about 280 pounds. And you know what? You're not getting through his arm. And he's going to put up a 4-foot shot worth 2 points, and you can't stop it. He's been compared to David Robinson, which is a great comparison, although he's not as athletic as David Robinson. I went back to the Yao Ming portion of that comparison. Tony, they also got 3-point shooters. And he can get he's got great hands. He's a willing passer. They can shoot the three. One kid last night for them made 9 threes, Mason Gillis, in a college game. Isn't that the Golden State Warriors? 9 threes. Purdue's the best team in the country. I'm not saying they're going to run the table or anything crazy. Right now, they're the best team.
Yeah, I don't know if they're the best team. I don't know if Matt Painter is the best coach. Matt Painter, though, 406 and 193 at Purdue, but only one trip to the Final Eight, whereas Tom Izzo in the same conference, 8 trips to the Final Four. And speaking of Tom Izzo, this is what he said about Edey. When Edey went for 38 and 13 against him, we couldn't cover him. He's bigger than any player I've ever coached against. He's more skilled as a player than anyone I've ever coached against. Ever? Really? Ever? Tom Izzo? Really?
But Tony,
I'll yield to you on this. But the Big Ten's in a down year. They only have 2 ranked teams. But I'll yield to you.
Tony, remember, kids now, if you're 18 to 25 years old, you're not even accustomed to playing a guy of this size and style. Because all you play is wings. Isn't that Victor Wembanyama? He is posting up and you cannot move him. No one that Tom Izzo has coached in the last 20 years or coached against, not in the last 20. Tom goes way back, right? So Tom can go back to the first half of his career and find guys. They can't dislodge this kid if he posts up. He's going to get the ball and turn on you and stuff it down your throat. This would be great. I'm excited as an old person to see somebody say, stretch this. Stretch my bicep down your throat. I'm going to stuff it. That's what I'm excited about watching Purdue and him. And Matt Painter's a big, strong guy. He must appreciate that. Come on now. Get on board. Get out of your stretch 4 mentality for a while. Pebble Beach Pro-Am is underway. You may remember Jordan Spieth's terrifying shot from the edge of a cliff on number 8 last year. Well, Pebble Beach representatives tell the PGA Tour they've had to grow the rough and move the red hazard line during resort play because too many guests, meaning average hackers or below average, were trying to replicate the shot. Tony, do you understand the allure of trying to recreate this shot?
100%. If you go play Sawgrass, you wait the entire round to get to the island green on 17, and you want to see if you can get it to stay on the green. If you play where the waste management is at
16.
TPC at Scottsdale.
You and I did that.
You wait the entire round.
Yes, we did.
You wait the entire round for 16 to be in the middle of the stadium. All right? If you are lucky enough to play in Augusta and you're on number 10 and you go in the right rough, your caddy will tell you where Bubba Watson hit that big hook from to get, to save his round. If you go to Carnoustie, you're going to start rolling up your pants in the water to see if you can do what John Vandervelde did when he choked away the British Open. So, of course, I understand this. The problem with it is you and I, and by the way, Pebble's expensive, but everybody can play.
You can play it.
You can buy it. You can play.
Yep.
You and I, if we take that shot that Jordan Spieth takes, we slip, we fall off the volcano, and we die.
It's a new
It's very simple.
Frankie and Pablo would be sitting there for a long time if we tried that shot.
And that's why you got to grow the rough so you prevent the ball from being there, because everybody's going to want to take it without the knowledge that 19 out of 20, you're not Jordan Spieth.
Right.
Don't take the shot.
Yeah, I wouldn't even try that because it made me nervous to watch Jordan Spieth do it. And Jordan Spieth, by the way, says if he had to do it all over again and where he is at this point of his life, no. But I'm going to mention a place, Tony, another place where I've tried the shot and I've slowed play. If you remember, in 1999 at Medina, the PGA Championship, Sergio Garcia hits it off that tree on the right on number 16 and goes skipping into the fairway because it's impossibly uphill so he can get enough height to see where his shot lands. How many times do you think people try that? The tree is gone. It's not, the last time I mentioned this, I get a text after the show from a friend in Medina in Chicago and says, by the way, tree is gone. I don't think it died. I think they had to remove it because it would slow down play every single day. I know I have tried it.
Yeah.
You set the ball down, you say, wait a minute, I got to hit another one from right here like Sergio.
What did you think of Sergio jumping? What about his ups? Did you think Sergio
Sergio pretty athletic.
Impressed by
pretty
that?
athletic. I was impressed by
You
that.
play Pebble all the time. I expect to hear that you've fallen off the cliff.
No,
and you're
I
out.
look at it.
Let's take
I
a
look
break.
at it. That's as far as it's going.
Coming up, after blowing one last night, how significant is tonight's game against the Nuggets for the Warriors?
We're going to ask Kendrick Perkins
Oh,
that.
we're going to ask Kendrick.
Also,
I'm sorry, we're going to ask Kendrick.
That's all right. We're going to ask him about the Pistons. Assistant coach Jerome Allen trash talking Luka. No, I'm not going down. I'm not doing that.
You're in love with Let's dig into the NBA with our great friend from NBA Today, our bestie, Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick, we're going to start with the Warriors. The Warriors got us excited for about a week or so when they started winning road games, and then they blew a game at Minnesota last night. If you were a Warrior, Would you see tonight's game against Denver, back-to-back road games, as a meaningful game?
Yes, if I'm a Warrior, I see every game from here to the end of the season as a meaningful game. We can all agree that for the first time, the Warriors have an identity problem. And the only way to solve that is by playing more games together and going through adversity. Also, they're right there in the thick of things as far as the play-in tournament, falling out of the play-in tournament. Like it's a race in the last part or the second part of the Western Conference. And every game matters at this moment. We're hearing Steve Kerr talk about it. We heard Steph Curry talk about it. Like, they don't even have identity right now. And we're talking about a team that actually won the championship. So, yes, not only tonight against the Denver Nuggets is it meaningful, but for the remainder of the season, every game matters for the Golden State Warriors.
Well, a team certainly playing meaningful games every night is the Lakers, and I want to zero in on LeBron for a second, Perk, averaging 39-7 at the age of 38. He says he wants to play a few more years. Everybody who's ever played at the level you guys play know it can fall off, and it does fall off for everybody. How long can you see LeBron keeping this up?
Well, it's two things. We do know he spent a lot of money on his body, and it shows, okay? He's going to be eligible for his pension in 7 years, all right? And then the third thing is, let me add this. We are the same age, and I started my second career, and he's still going. So when I think about LeBron James entirely, right, we could talk about him chasing Kareem record to him playing how long he's going to play and the milestones he reached, synonymous. That's the new word, synonymous, meaning same, basically, tied together. The NBA, LeBron James, are tied together like shoelaces. When you think of the NBA, you think of LeBron James. When you think of LeBron James, you think of the NBA. So I could see him playing for however long he wants to. When you have that physique, when you have that love for the game, I mean, you could just ride it off into the sunset. But, like, he's reached $1 billion, his network, right? He's reached almost every milestone. He's won championships, MVPs, multiple All-Star games. What else is he playing for? The love of the game. And I don't think that love is going nowhere because he's married to it.
Well, if he did ever pass the torch, one of the guys who I think he want to pass it to would be Luka, who scored 53 the other night, going back and forth with Pistons assistant coach Jerome Allen. Perk, you've seen a lot of stuff in your time in the league. How do you feel about an assistant coach barking at one of the greats and getting lit up for 53?
You know I like controversy, and you know I like the beef. I mean, it just brings out the competitive nature in the game, but only from the players. And here's why. Because as an assistant coach, even a head coach, you can't go out there and perform for your players. So while he was talking noise to Luka Doncic, he didn't have to go out there and deal with that problem. He was putting his players in a messed up situation. And so my old coach from the Pelicans, my good brother, Coach Gentry, I remember we was playing with the Pelicans and we were playing against LeBron, and LeBron kind of was on cruise control, and the fan yelled out something at LeBron, and Coach Gentry hurried up and turned around. He said, shh, shh, man, don't wake him up. We don't want to have to start that. We don't want these problems. Let him be. And that makes sense. Like, as an assistant coach, let him be. Don't put your players in that position where they have to get that 50-piece dropped on them. Just be quiet.
We'll get you out of here on this, and it's a question about the Sacramento Kings, who have not been relevant for about 70 years at this point. The Sacramento Kings right now, as you well know, they're in third place in the West. They have the best road record in the conference. Is it imperative? Do we need to start paying attention to the Sacramento Kings?
Yes. You know why? Because they have a dynamic duo in De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. Sabonis is, we talk about Jokic and Embiid. To me, Sabonis is next on their list, right after him, after Giannis Antetokounmpo. But I will say this. When you look at their core, when you look at guys like Harrison Barnes and you look at guys that are coming off the bench and giving them great minutes, playing their roles, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying, well, Mike Brown has brought that championship pedigree from the Golden State Warriors into that locker room. And by the way, he should be up for as the front runner winning the Coach of the Year, but we should acknowledge the Kings. They're here. They're not going anywhere. They have the foundation, and they have the team that's bought into the system and that's bought into actually winning. Like selfless players that's all about winning.
I've been in the playoffs in forever. Thank you, Perk, as always. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, should Notre Dame offensive coordinator Tommy Rees leave for Alabama?
And Vic Fangio has decided whose defense he'll be coordinating next season. Tony, games in Sacramento in the spring. How about that? Huh? That's a great fan base.
It's been a very long time.
It's been a long time.
Happy time, people. Happy 55th birthday, Sean Elliott. Elliott was a two-time Pac-10 Player of the Year at Arizona and the National Player of the Year there in 1989. The slender forward was drafted number 3 overall behind Purvis Ellison of Louisville and Danny Ferry of Duke. He outshone both of them. He played 11 seasons in the league, 10 with San Antonio and 1 in Detroit. Elliott was on the 1999 NBA champion Spurs led by David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Elliott's number 32 jersey has been retired in San Antonio. He was a two-time All-Star who averaged 14.2 points per game over his career and got 20 a game in the 1994-95 season.
Tony, it's great to listen to Sean Elliott now doing broadcast color for Spurs games. And that's just a great treat to get in addition. And you know what? He didn't get reduced, because now people would reduce him to say, you're a 3-and-D guy. Sean Elliott was a player, and an underrated one and an understated one at that.
Happy anniversary, Fred VanVleet. On this day 2 years ago, the Raptors guard scored a career-high 54 points, including a career-high 11 three-pointers in a 123-108 win over Orlando. VanVleet's 54 points set a Toronto franchise record and set an NBA record for most points by an undrafted player.
Wow.
VanVleet and Ron Baker were on Wichita State teams that went to 4 straight NCAA tournaments, and neither was drafted. VanVleet was on the 2019 Toronto team that won the NBA championship, and he came in second to Kawhi Leonard for Finals MVP because UB Brown voted for him. This season, VanVleet is averaging 19.2 points and 6.5 assists.
Let me tell you something. Toronto doesn't win that series, that championship, no matter how great Kawhi is, without Fred VanVleet, who, when you're sitting there courtside, is smaller than you think, Tony, and you don't think this guy doesn't look like an uber athlete. He gets it done, and he can shoot it. I mean, there's only two or three people in the NBA who can perhaps shoot it better than he can, which is why he's had all the success despite being undrafted.
Happy trails to the head coaching opening for North Carolina's field hockey team. Carolina has hired one of its own to coach the team. Erin Matson will get the job. She's 22. She just graduated in December, and she is the GOAT of field hockey. She was on 4 national championship teams at Chapel Hill, 3 of which went undefeated. She's the all-time scoring leader in NCAA tournament history. She's replacing Karen Shelton, who coached the Tar Heels to 10 NCAA titles and 25 ACC titles in 42 years. It is said this is like Michael Jordan replacing Dean Smith. There are potential issues. Matson will be coaching her former teammates, and how will she balance coaching and playing for the U.S. national team? But really, what do Wilbon and I know about field hockey?
Well, I do know this. There's no clip up there of the one time they lost. You know who they lost to? Take a guess.
I'll guess Northwestern.
Now, let me just say congratulations, too. And this is, talk about thinking out of the box. If you're in the athletic department in the school, it might be thinking out of the box, but it seems really creative and it seems really smart. And congratulations. And she seems like an easy person to root for in this position.
One error, Tom Izzo said Zach Edey is the most skilled player he's ever seen with his hands. And one omission, Courtney Vandersloot leaves the Chicago Sky to join Brianna Stewart on the New York Liberty
empty.
And quick to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Yeah, the Chicago team stinks now. Vic Fangio has reportedly agreed to join the Dolphins as defensive coordinator. Good choice?
He's been good so many places for so long. How could he not be a good choice? Notre Dame offensive coordinator Tommy Rees is talking to Alabama about the same gig there. Is that a no-brainer to go?
No, it isn't, because Rees was a quarterback at Notre Dame at one point. Robert Kraft wants Tom Brady to sign a one-day contract, retire as a Patriot. Does that make sense?
If Brady wants to, you don't need ceremony for that. I mean, Brady's a Patriot for most of us. If you're not in Tampa, Pro Bowl games are tonight. Really? You looking forward to that junk, huh?
Dodgeball, the 5 Ds of dodgeball. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
Yeah.
Last one, the NHL is into the All-Star break. What's your takeaway from the first half?
Tony, the Bruins. That's what you got to take away from the first half of that season they've had. Looking forward to the stretch run with them.
We're out of time. We'll try to do better the next time. Remember the 5 Ds of dodge.
I'm going to dodge that. I'm going to dodge that appearance and have a clicker in my hand. I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, your Sports Center.